Hello everybody, this is Moin Hanif here. I hope you are staying safe at home and utilizing this break really wisely. I would like to thank the CVO of Lyceum International School, Mr. Nikita Guerrero, Ms. Tolka and Ms. Ishani for inviting me on this platform, and I feel very honored and privileged for this opportunity to reveal my story, and I hope I can encourage a few young minds. Before I begin with my story, I will emphasize a little bit on the value of focus. So one needs to be focused on his or her goal, and you also need a goal to be focused. So basically they complement each other. Once you have identified your goal, you need to break it down into a few tasks with deadlines, because without deadlines they may never be achieved. You will also need discipline, which means a routine, and you need to constantly follow up without procrastination. You will also need resources, which could mean investment, knowledge, a team, a mentor. You need to gather all that you need to achieve your goal. You will need to be efficient and minimize all your costs and utilization of your resources. Minimum resources, as in try and use minimum resources. You will need a lot of patience. Nothing happens overnight, right? And you will also need prayers and well wishes from your parents. And finally, leave everything to your creator. You give your 100%, and there's things which are out of your control, which you leave it to your creator. So I hope you will use some of these tips to achieve success. Now I will tell you a little bit about me. So I was a past student of Lyceum. I did my O-levels and A-levels from grade 8 to 12. I spent 5 years at Lyceum. I did really well in my O-levels, and then I was granted a full scholarship for A-levels. I thank Mr. and Mrs. Guerrero for the great opportunity. Lyceum generally is a brilliant school with great teachers and high value for money. So once I finished my A-levels, I took a big loan of 3.6 million Sri Lankan rupees and left to do my bachelor's. Once I finished my bachelor's, I started my PhD research, during which I was granted a full scholarship and paid a stipend, and about 2 years later I was able to pay the whole loan that I had from Sri Lanka. What I'll do is I'll let you watch my entire video, and I hope you like it, and best of luck staying home, staying safe, and continuing your studies and achieving all what you dream of. Between the age of 13 and 16, after school I would come home, and in the evening I would sell SIM cards and mobile phones. I would buy bikes, I would sell them, I would exchange, and I kept on making money. I went to Nottingham, Malaysia. I was there for the first year, and then I did well. I was granted a fee waiver to go to the UK. So whole of my second year was in the UK, where I had no fees. I entered UK with about £2,000 with me in cash, and then when I returned back after 1 year, I had that £2,000 back with me. So basically I was working part-time at the Co-op supermarket as a cashier. Some days I would work as a waiter at Christmas parties, especially during the festival months. And the normal routine before the exams would be to go to campus in the morning, go for lectures, then evening do about 6 hours shift of at the Co-op supermarket as a cashier, and then after freshening up around midnight, go to the library and study till about 5 a.m. in the morning, and come back home and then start the next day again. That went on for about a year, especially during exam months. So for my final year, I came back to Malaysia. I didn't want to do a part-time job and do the third year as well. I wanted to give all the focus to my studies basically. So I came back to Malaysia, finished my degree. I got a first class. I was one of the 5 students who got the first class. 4 of them were Chinese in Malaysia, and I was the only foreigner in my batch. And then I came back to Sri Lanka, looked for a job. The pay was too low, so I went to UK. So this time I went with just 500 pounds, thinking that I'll get a job and continue my life there. Meanwhile, I applied for many PhD positions all over the world. I got shortlisted in New Zealand and Ireland. New Zealand wasn't giving me a full scholarship. Ireland was giving me a full scholarship. Initially, even Ireland, they refused because I had no experience. I was too young, so they were reluctant. But eventually, it was a surprise email that they accepted, and I left the UK in about a month and moved to Ireland. All I had was about 100 euros remaining and a full PhD scholarship, and that's how I started my life in Ireland. I was in Ireland for about 3.5 years doing my PhD research. In the weekends, I would do a part-time job at a warehouse. Eventually, in 2010, I got my Danish green card for my high skills. And in 2011, I moved to Marsdal Institute of Science and Technology because it was in collaboration with MIT USA. So I was doing my postdoc research there for about a year.
Moin's contributions are in the area of maximum power point tracking, electrical circuit topology, and anti-islanding detection using wavelengths. These contributions will make solar power systems of the future more efficient and productive, as well as safer and cheaper. Moin's supervisors were my colleagues Malanika Basu and Kevin Gahn from the School of Electrical Engineering Systems. Moin has already published 1 journal paper and 3 conference papers as a result of his research. I now present to you Dr Moin Hanif.
From there, I'd applied for work in many parts of the world. I got shortlisted in South Africa, at University of Cape Town. It was the best option at the time. University of Cape Town is #1 in South Africa as well as the African continent. So I immediately accepted it and I moved to South Africa for my as a full-time faculty. Initially, they said that they will before they invited me for the interview. They flew me down, but before that they said at a Skype interview that I was too young for the position, had not much of experience, so they would give me a lower position. After I flew for the interview and I came back and I followed up, and they said that it was really brilliant and they promoted me. They gave me a better position. So from the beginning I joined a senior lecture position, and that was really encouraging. I was granted exceptional skills permit in South Africa, and within 1 year they granted me the permanent residency due to my high skills as well. I bought a property, saved up because I had some savings from UAE as well, and I had saved up even in Cape Town. And I saved up and bought my property. The reason I'm mentioning this is that it is really important to put your money in very secure investments at the beginning. At the beginning, the investment should be very, very secure. You don't do a business with that little money that you have. Later on, when you have excess money, you can always start a business or invest in business. In my time in South Africa, I was teaching undergrads, I was supervising postgrads. I graduated many master's students and PhD students. It was really fun. I built a solar car with second-year students. It was brilliant. Also, I established a retail store in Cape Town in South Africa. In the evenings, I would go and spend my time at the store, where my brother and my father joined me as well in South Africa. It was brilliant. I was a regular reviewer of IEEE conference papers. I used to publish journals regularly. I was external examiner for many other universities in South Africa, where I examined many masters and PhD students, and their thesis went for their defense and things like that. 16 and 17, I came back to Dublin Institute of Technology as a faculty. I was just going to spend 1 year during my sabbatical, but they extended my contract. I stayed there for about two to 3 years. That year, those 2 years were like the most amount of work I've done in my life. I was working at Dublin Institute of Technology. And I had also got a position at University of Johannesburg, where I was a visiting associate. So I was working remotely there. So during the day, because as a faculty or an academic job requires about 20 to 25 hours, so I did have a lot of time in the evening. So in the evening I would do pizza deliveries, and especially in the weekends I would also do pizza deliveries, plus I would also work as a taxi driver, in the night, to save up more money to buy my property, next property, invest in business and things like that. So that was those 2 years I've worked the most. So I was doing 2 faculty jobs, I was doing 2 odd jobs, and also I had started my business in Sri Lanka, so I was investing in that, spending more time on WhatsApp. And during the weekends, during the day, the weekends were allocated for the family, and in the night I would also do some taxi work, right? And those 2 years I was also very active, as in I was training at the gym. Whenever I got some time, I was spending about 2 to 3 hours in the gym. So I achieved my fitness goals as well. In those 2 years I was also a treasurer, treasurer for IEEE for South Africa, but I was physically in Ireland. So 2016 and 17 was the most amount of work. Life was really busy, but brilliant. I invested in a second property in 2017. I was maintaining the business in South Africa as well as in Sri Lanka, doing all this work in Ireland as well. 2018 and 19 was comparatively relaxed, as in I moved to High College of Technology in the UAE because they were paying me really well. I continued to work for University of Johannesburg even till now. I maintain my businesses in Sri Lanka, online business in Ireland. All the work carries on online, on the phone, WhatsApp, on cameras, things like that. Then 2020 I again saved up more money for the third property, invest in cryptocurrency, forex, working on many different domains, and already graduated many engineers by now, maybe over 1,000 engineers already. So that's it really about me. I hope I have inspired you, and if you have any questions you can always email me at moinhanif@ieee.org.